What is your reaction to the Lakers' pre-draft move?
Well, it shows me that Magic Johnson is wheeling and dealing. He's making things happen, as Max has accurately pointed out on several occasions in the past. And I say accurately because that's a very, very important thing, because I usually don't give him credit because he usually doesn't deserve it. But in this particular instance, he does. Max Kellerman kept pointing out how Timothy Mozgov and Luol Deng, those contracts needed to get off the books. This would get one of those contracts off the books. That's an incredibly big thing for Magic Johnson and the Los Angeles Lakers to pull off. D'Angelo Russell, him being gone potentially, also tells you they're going to draft Lonzo Ball. That's what that tells you. So we get that out of the way right now. But not only that, what you're talking about is a situation where you know that Paul George is coming there at the very latest by next summer. You know they're trying to make something happen now. So clearly he's going to be in a Los Angeles Laker uniform, but you're also going to have the ability to get another max player, which forces you to think about LeBron James potentially in a Los Angeles Lakers uniform, which I still think is somewhat of a long shot for a variety of reasons that we'll get into in the hours, days, and weeks ahead. But in the end, what this comes down to is that, again, it's Magic Johnson recognizing what needs to go, what needs to be going. And guess what? When you clean garbage out of your house, it ends up smelling better. But the first order of business is to recognize that there's actually garbage in the house that you have to get rid of. Magic Johnson.
Don't Febreze it.
And I'm not.
Take it out of the house.
Take it out of the house. And I'm not calling either player garbage, because I do know that D'Angelo Russell can play. All right, I don't want to cast too many aspersions on him. His locker room presence is what hurt him, but his basketball ability is there. But that contract of Mozgov is a very, very big deal. And getting that off your books is huge. And I think that Magic Johnson deserves a lot of credit for that right now.
Magic is doing what he can do. And it's impressive. So far, Magic is an impressive executive. You don't know how he's going to do in this role, but he's impressive so far. All of a sudden, you start hearing buzz about LeBron James might want to go to the Lakers, Paul George. Everyone's interested in the Lakers all of a sudden since Magic is there. And the first thing he actually does, he rolls up his sleeves and moves Mozgov's contract off the books, as Stephen A. says. He uses D'Angelo Russell, who I don't think they were crazy about in the locker room, maybe not even in terms of his progress, right, as a point guard, as a guard, period, because they moved him off ball at times. And they used whatever value he had to leverage themselves out of Mozgov's contract, and they get Brook Lopez back this year. So if they have Brook Lopez, if they eventually deal for a guy like Paul George, all of a sudden they have an offense. Interesting. And if they like Brook Lopez, they can even keep him going forward. They have his bird rights. If they trade for Paul George, they have his bird rights, all those sorts of things. So you covered that. This is what I got to get into right now, because it drives me crazy. I was doing radio for almost 6 years with Marcellus Wiley in L.A. We were the home of the Lakers, afternoon drive, home of the Lakers. And we're watching this happen, and hey, one of the good things about when you lose all the time is you get draft picks. They'd select 7th to take Julius Randle. They'd select 2nd, D'Angelo Russell, 2nd, Brandon Ingram. Look at this, an interesting young nucleus, and they did pretty well getting Larry Nance Jr., who's an interesting player, and Jordan Clarkson in the 2nd round. And look at this, things are happening. And, oh, we're going to get all these free agents, and it doesn't happen. Jim Buss and Mitch Kupchak, completely ineffectual that way, and I hate to take shots at them because they're gone. Now they've been removed from their positions, but to do honest commentary now, I have to take a shot. They couldn't get a thing done. And so what did they do at the 11th hour? They signed Mozgov to $17 million a year, 16 or 17, and the same thing with Luol Deng. And Stephen A.
He was at 16 last year. He's at 15 this upcoming season, then 16, then 16.7.
I think it averaged out to about 16 and a quarter, 16 and a half, and Luol Deng averaged out to like 17.
Yep.
And what drives me crazy about this, it's the same thing that Warriors fans had to be feeling when Steph Curry did the behind-the-back pass to Klay Thompson that he threw away in Game 7 at home against the Cavs to the finals before last. Okay. What drives you crazy are unforced errors. Look, sometimes things happen. You sign a guy, it doesn't turn out right, he gets hurt, he doesn't mesh with the coach, his teammates, whatever that is, unforeseen circumstances, fine. You took a risk, it didn't pan out, fine. But a plain unforced error, the kind of error where at the time you go, are you guys idiots? You are saddling yourselves with cap problems as all these free agents are going to come up in the years to come, just as your young core is developing, just as you've had time to see who's a keeper, who to trade, just as you're getting everything together and you can get 2 max deals and have money left over to put a super team together. Instead of that, you're going to saddle yourself with cap problems behind Timothy Mozgov and Luol Deng? Are you insane? And now let me tell you what the upshot of that is. And this is why I'm smoking mad when I saw this yesterday. The upshot is, Stephen A., even if the Lakers and Magic's doing a good job, but even if the Lakers wind up getting Paul George and eventually LeBron James, they will not win a championship with them for a very simple reason. They need to use their young assets now to leverage themselves out of bad contracts in order to free up cap space to sign guys that they would have had the cap space to sign had they not signed those super stupid contracts in the first place. Those contracts are 1 year old.
I appreciate your emotion and your passion. I understand how you feel, but I would caution you to calm down just a touch. I can't believe I'm saying this to you, but I have to say this to him. I think he needs to calm down. Here's why.
When Stephen A. Smith tells you you have to calm down, you
Ain't that something, right? I love it, right?
You have issues.
You do have issues right now, but it's plausible ones. You're right about the combination of the contracts, but getting rid of Timothy Mozgov's contracts, keep this in mind. You only have 2 real legitimate contracts on your books thereafter in Clarkson, who you want to keep.
Good contract.
And Luol Deng. Now, you might sit there and look at Luol Deng getting $16, $17, $18 million over the next 3 years, okay? But you also have to take into account the elevation of the cap, the exorbitant amount of dollars, how in this day and age when a guy like Mike Conley is getting paid $153 million, or DeMar DeRozan $139 million, or Bradley Beal $128 million. You have to understand, I'm only bringing up those names because they could play, but I'm only bringing up those names to talk to you about how moderate a contract like Luol Deng's is, believe it or not, in the years to come.
Let me tell you why I disagree.
But let me just say this to you. He's also a guy, you don't want him as a starter. You don't want him
on your
playing
team.
40 minutes. But you don't mind him on your team.
I agree.
Coming off the bench, giving you 25 minutes
Presence
a night.
in the locker room,
giving you
veteran, the whole thing.
But he can give you 25. He can hit an open shot.
Yes, he can.
He can defend.